Alrighty. Getting a little bit of a late start. Let's see. All right. Let's see if everything's checking out. Having some technical difficulties tonight. YouTube is good, and we are for the first time live over on the Whitetails and Whiskeys Facebook page for this episode. Oh, what a season. What a last couple weeks. And it's still not over yet. I mean, I still got doe tags. You still got doe tags.
Yep.
We are tagged out on our New York bucks. And we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to score my dad's buck, double wide. So we'll see how that goes with everything. I got to tape him up quick. I'll let Nate talk about his hunt while I do that. Share the Whitetails and Whiskey over to my page, and then that way we can scatter up some more viewers. Nate picked the whiskey tonight. Old Faithful.
Oh, the classic.
Classic.
That's how my wife would put it.
Yeah, that'll work. My wife's coming down. Is there a technical difficulty? Yes, it is on the Whitetails and Whiskey page. I just shared it over to my page. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
There we go. Alrighty. So, working out a couple of the new kinks, trying it out on the Whitetails and Whiskey page. Trying to put it over there from now on. That way everything's going right through the page and channel and all that good stuff for us. So, whiskey of the night is, what'd you say Liza called it, or would call it?
A classic.
Classic.
Classic. Crown Royal.
Canadian blend for our whiskey of the night. So I guess in spirits of tagging both our New York bucks on the same night, which we'll get to those stories. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
Nope.
So, we did have a few guesses come in. We're going to start off with scoring my dad's buck, and while I'm scoring that, Nate will tell the story about his buck and how that hunt went what was it? No, my days are jumbling together. Sunday evening. So I'll get double wide taped up, but if you guys want to drop your guesses in on the score of double wide, we just got them back from one of our buddies, does European mounts. And I think we settled on a name tonight when I was talking to him.
Oh, boy.
Dommers, spelled Dommers, taxidermy and more, ... But he did a great job, got double wide finished up so we could have him on the podcast, score him up tonight. He's all wrapped up in blues painter's tape and all that good stuff last time. So
yeah, Jesse's really doing a great job.
Doing well with it. And like I said, just to be fair, we'll give you guys the inside spread measurement. It was 22 1/4 on him. We have about 10 guesses so far, so get your score guesses in. And winner's going to get a Whitetails and Whiskey podcast hoodie, which we're sporting those tonight. We got a few of them in stock. If you guys are interested in them, let us know. Shoot us over a message. And
What are you going? What are they going for?
45, I figured, with shipping and all that stuff. So, local pickups available. We could ship them for another couple extra bucks. But yeah, so I'll get to taping up double wide. Like I said, anytime though, you guys can drop your score guesses in on them for a chance to win a free hoodie. It's free to enter. 22 1/4 was his inside spread, and we're gonna measure him up with a gross green score and give away a hoodie for it. And without further ado, I will turn it over to Nate.
Yeah.
For his buck story from Sunday. Unless you need a drink.
No, I need to.
Oh, you got to get the buck.
Grab the buck.
That would help. That would help. Oh boy.
So here he is. He's a pretty cool 10-pointer. He's got his G2 here. He's got a little kick off the inside, as you can probably see. He's a pretty unique buck. And yeah, Sunday I was heening hawing about where I was going to go sit, and I decided I was going to go sit on the ground on the edge of a grass field, an alfalfa field. I guess part of the reason I picked the green field was because it was a little bit of a warmer day. I feel the deer tend to hit more of the green fields on, I would say, the more warmer temperatures, sunny days, those bluebird type days. I feel like they're over in the green a little more than hitting the corn or beans or any grains. But yeah, I decided I was gonna go sit there. I was gonna pack a camp chair, and my wife gave me an early Christmas present. I got a set of Primo's bipod trigger sticks, which are awesome. Those anybody hasn't investigated those or looked into them, I definitely recommend looking into them. They're pretty sweet. But yeah, we had a southwest wind, so I picked the best corner for the wind from where I was thinking the deer were going to come out. And I was expecting fairly good deer movement due to the fairly high winds we had. I guess the 3 or 4 days prior, it seemed like we didn't get a wind that was below 12 miles an hour with gusts up to 40.
Yeah, some of those days it was really whipping on us. And
the wind died right down on Sunday, so I was anticipating a pretty good evening. But I sat the 3 sits prior to that. I didn't even see a single deer. So I was getting a little discouraged with it, and the cameras were pretty dead. But you know, it's how it kind of works with after gun season kind of opens up and the weather, what it was doing. But yeah, I was sitting there just kind of taking in everything and collecting my thoughts and everything on life. And about 4:30, apparently I never turned the ringer off on my phone, and I got the crickets ringer. So I heard crickets going off, and I look over to my right, and I see Ben's calling, and I was like, oh boy. I said something must have happened. So I actually thought about ignoring him because I was right in that last half hour. I didn't want to answer it, and something happened. But I was like, no, I got to answer it. I know he had a good one out in front of him a little bit prior. He sent me a picture. And so I answered it, and he was all amped up and telling me how he got his buck, shot St. Patrick, and he was able to do it with the handgun, which was, I know you were really hoping to do that, which was awesome. But I'll let you tell more about that.
Yeah, later on, yeah.
So I'm sitting there trying to whisper, and he's over there all jacked up, and I got off the phone with him, and I was happy for him. I was sitting there just kind of thinking, like, man, it'd be really sweet if me and Ben could both get nice bucks, this evening, and we could have them both hanging in the deer shed.
Yeah.
And probably about 4:50, I seen the first doe come out on the other side of the field. It's about a 130-yard field, and got the gun up. I shoot a 6.5 Creedmoor Mossberg Patriot with a 4x12 Vortex Diamondback. But I pulled it up, and I was kind of watching her through the scope, and a few more does filed out, and they were over there just milling around, eating in the grass. I was watching them, and I was like, where's the buck? I'm like, there's got to. I'm like, not even a 4-point with this group. I'm like, come on, there's got to be something with these guys, some antlers I can look at least. And so I decided I was going to pull the gun up, and I was gonna look through the scope and kind of scan the wood line on the other side of the field, and the field had a little bit of a roll to it, so I couldn't really see the direct adjacent corner from me. And I knew there was a pretty good scrape down in that corner, and I get down to that corner and I see just over the rise of the hill, I kind of see something that looks like, antlers. And I'm watching it pretty intently through the scope, and all of a sudden what I thought were antlers disappeared and went down. I was like, oh boy. I said, I think I said he is here. And I could tell the spread on him was pretty decent, and he was a pretty decent buck. Then I was getting all excited, and I accidentally breathed on my scope, fogged the thing right up. Now I can't see nothing through my scope. It's pushing 5 o'clock now, and I know I only got, I don't know, I think it was 5 or
6 minutes.
5-6 minutes left of legal shooting.
Yeah.
All right, he needs to start making it up here, and I'm getting all worked up because I can't even see the does anymore because my scope's all fogged up. I'm trying to wipe it off. Finally, I get that cleared up, and I kind of took a couple deep breaths and got my bearings back together, and scanned the deer I could see over there, and he actually made his way up the field pretty fast. He actually came up the wood line, and he was past the 3 doe in the back, and he was up in the middle of the pack, and I was just following him, and he just kept walking. I was following him, like, come on, stop. And he did. He stopped. He was kind of quartering to me a little bit. So he stopped, and he was kind of looking in my direction, whether it had anything to do with me. Half my chair I was sitting in's half off tilt. I had, I think, a leg off the ground trying to bend around this tree. I was trying to get a shot. Either way, I was a mess, but I was able to get the crosshairs on his front shoulder, and I think it was, I don't know, a couple minutes after 5 or right in there, 5 o'clock.
Like
something
5:03 or 5:04, I think is when my phone rang.
Yeah, so I had to shoot him right in there, but he gave me a good clear shot. All the other deer, he wasn't around any of them, and I squeezed one off, and as far as I could tell through the scope, it looked like I hit him. He kind of looked like his front end buckled, and then all chaos broke loose. All the deer in the field kind of ran everywhere, and it was hard for me to pick which one was him after I lifted my head off the gun, and I was trying to pick him to see which direction he ran. I was shaking, and adrenaline was definitely kicked in.
You thought you killed Chubby.
Well, I thought it was the big one over there. He ended up being the second biggest one I had on camera, the one with the inside G2, the split G2 thing. But yeah, and it's kind of I was a little worried because he was pretty close to the neighbor's border property line. He was probably 40 yards onto the side of the property that I could hunt. And I know one of the deer, after I shot, went straight in towards the property line. And that, I don't know, it is what it is. I know some people deal with these neighbors. I mean, some people, I was told from the beginning when I hunted that property, if I don't even bother asking, if a deer goes over there, it's gone, it's his kind of thing. And I knew he was a good buck, and I was a little worked up that might have happened. But the rest of the deer ran down the hill back to where they came from. And calling Ben with all this stuff running through my head and all the adrenaline, and he told me he'd come give me a hand, and but he had to take care of his stuff. So I was like, "You're killing me, man." I was like, I want to go look now, but
yeah.
But no, did the right thing, got all my stuff together, called my wife, told her what happened and what's going on, and went back home, and which is probably a good thing. Went back home, collected myself, and got a little clearer head going out trying to find him. Ben got to my house probably 2 hours later. We headed on over there. We're looking in the field, and there's an old barbed wire fence line that cuts just inside the woods there. That is a pretty distinct property line. I mean, once you
20 yards. give or
Yeah.
take. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we're out in the field looking where he was standing when I shot. We can't find any blood. Or then I started getting inside. I don't think I showed it much on the outside, but on the inside, I was like, "There's no way I whiffed this guy." I'm like, "Come on!" And so Ben went in the woods a little bit, and he started walking the property line down the hill, and I stayed out in the field, and I was looked around a little longer, and it's like, well, I know where majority of the deer ran. They ran back to that bottom corner. I said, I'm just going to follow the wood line, the field edge, all the way down, just kind of wrap, see if I can pick up any blood going into the woods. I made it all the way down to that scrape that was down there, down in that corner, and still no blood. And I'm, of course, now things are really running through my head. Like, what happened? I was solid. Everything felt good. The crosshairs were on them.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what is going on? Why can't we find any blood? And decided to just shine my light down in the woods, hopefully to maybe pick up a body, and shine my flashlight down there and kind of did a little scan back and forth. And at the base of this, I don't know if it was a sycamore tree, but
Beech.
it was
It
a
was
beech.
a beech bark disease. Yeah.
But it had like a bunch of like patches because it kind of reminded me of a sycamore with that
white,
like patchy,
chippy, gnarly looking. Yeah.
and it had a lot of light colors to it. And right at the base, I could pick up like a patch of white, which kind of, I was like, all right, well,
looked like the bark.
Yeah, it looked like the bark, but I was like, well, it could be a deer belly, So I go walking down the hill a little ways, and I shine it again. I haven't said anything to Ben yet, and I'm shining down there. I'm like, nah, it's just the base of the tree. And for a split second, I thought about just going back out to the field, but I was like, nah, just go make sure that that's not a deer. And I got a little closer, and I definitely picked up the body of a deer once I was probably 45, 50 yards away.
Right.
And I yelled up at Ben, said I got him, and he comes sprinting down the hill. I'm surprised he didn't. It's a pretty good hill. I was when he's like leaping through the. I was surprised he didn't face plant it on his way down, honestly. But he made it down to me, and I was sitting there admiring him, and realized that it was the buck with the inside kicker there, and I was ecstatic. I couldn't be happier. Yeah. I think he's actually going to go score wise my second biggest buck that I've ever killed.
Yeah. I
think he's going to go 130, 135, somewhere in that range.
Probably 30. Yeah, I'd say he's definitely in that 30 class, that low 30 mark.
But doesn't, I guess
he's got good mass. It's kind of deceiving, but because of the palmation and stuff like that, I think he's going to score really well on mass.
He's got a little kicker on the inside here on the right side.
Cool little dog point.
He's got a lot of character, and I couldn't be happier. Honestly, I'm ecstatic, and so that was the end of the inside kicker buck. I've only hunted this property I think like 3 years now.
Yeah.
And I did have pictures of him all through bow season, and if I was in the right place at the right time with everything going on in life, I might have been able to take him with a bow. He was daylight a couple times in front of a couple of my, right? Yeah, the same field I shot him in. He was daylight a couple times in bow season. Then of course, like a lot of, I guess more mature deer do, gun season opens up and they disappear for a while, and get you thinking like, they just hide out, or did someone whack them and you just haven't seen it get posted, or did someone shoot them and not find them? And you start wondering about the deer you got on camera. And but yeah, he popped up on Back, maybe. Are we
Maybe.
back?
What?
I think we're back.
Are we back? Are we back?
If anybody is listening in the comments,
All right. Stop playing. Okay. Bullhorn says we're good. Everything else, I think, is dead. Huh? We're back? All right. I think we fixed it.
Ben forgot to plug his computer in. Yeah, Mark. Sorry.
I can't believe that.
I think
We got it back. I apologize, everybody. The computer literally went dead. We made a mad scramble, plugged it back in, got everything whipped back up. And so we were talking, like you were saying, gun season. Where did bucks go? You know, to kind of bring it back to your story. I apologize for cutting you off.
Ah, that's all right. It happens. Whatever. But yeah, you know, you sit there and you wonder what happened to some of these deer you had on camera, and lucky for me, this guy stayed alive and was able to give me a shot, and he came out, and it was a great hunt.
Yeah,
and I couldn't be happier. To tag him. And but yeah, that's the story of what happened with me on Sunday. And yeah,
I couldn't believe it when you called. I thought you were calling to say you were, ready to come help me drag St. Patrick out or whatever, and then you're just like, dude, I freaking got him.
yeah, yeah,
yeah. But no, it was good. It was a good afternoon, dude. My Uncle Phil killed his first deer in a good long few years over at the farm. Shot a nice doe that same night too. Actually, if you watch my YouTube video, when I walk up on St. Patrick in the field and put my hands on him for the first time, you can hear my neighbors killing does in the background. You can hear the rifles going off, which was kind of cool that night too. So, but yeah, it was definitely a good night. I know a lot of other people, shot some good bucks too. I saw around Facebook.
There was a lot of shooting going on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday seemed like it was a hot night. Like you said, winds dropped, temps had a little dip. I mean, it all lined up really good.
And then going back to I guess that temperature, and I guess when it comes to like precipitation, whether you're dealing with snow or rain, and them colder temperatures, I feel, you get them warmer, sunnier days. I feel like the deer seem to be around, this time of year when they're in that diet transition and all that, and there still is some green out there for them to get to, whether you got a food plot or alfalfa field or anything like
even
that.
Even
a hay field.
Yep.
I do feel on those little bit warmer, sunnier days, I think your better chance of being successful is on a grass field. And me and Ben were talking about that because I called him before we went out Sunday evening, and I was like, man, I don't know. And then, we said, well, go back to the basics of it. Go back to
Yep.
And what makes the most sense, to what field to sit in, what kind of field to sit in, and then obviously your position on whatever food source you want to sit, is depicted on the wind.
Right.
But yeah, it all came together. I was blown away. I was sitting there and almost said like a little prayer. I was like, man, thank God that, Ben was able to tag his buck and everything. I was like, someone my way so we could party it up in the shed tonight together with two big bucks.
Yep.
And that was a quick answer. And and it happened. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. Can't write a much better storybook piece than that.
No, I'm still kind of in awe that we both we both tagged out on the same day. But I mean, we were only a day apart with our bull bucks.
Yep. Had little fronts, 1 year rules. I mean, you start tying all this data together, it just increases those odds and chances, especially with the weather. And like you said, reading those situations, knowing what food source to go to, or knowing what, food source to be around, I think was absolutely key to both those hunts too.
Yeah, I'm coming around a little bit on the 1 year rule. I'm starting to do not as in depth as you with your Your board over there. You got a whole 6th grade whiteboard over there filled with information.
Yeah.
But I have been. I have, the more I hear you talk about it and some success you guys have, I have actually been going back on a lot smaller scale and looking just a week ahead at, properties that I've been able to hunt for consecutive years that I've had cameras on. I'll just go back the year prior and just look through that week.
Yep.
And if there was a mature buck on camera, that week in the area, all right, well, something must be going on. So it definitely makes sense. And I have been tying a little bit of that into my game.
And kind of a cool tie into that. If anybody's familiar with Wired to Hunt Mark Kenyon, he was really trying to tag a late season buck in Michigan. And he was doing the same thing, dude. He had a graph. He was data dumping annual data dates and stuff. And I was like, dude, I said, and like I said, this isn't like, something that, just I can do or just you can do. This is something that you can gather and look at data for any property, even if it's just, your stand observations, even if you're not running trail cameras. You saw really good chasing on the 4th. There's a reason why a lot of guys' favorite day is the day they kill a lot of deer.
They keep log books of their hunts. I got a couple buddies that after every hunt or every fishing trip, they write the date and they write down, what happened on that day and where they went and stuff like that.
Yeah, because deer are cyclic. I mean, it's not like, I'm not saying you go over that board and you're going to be able to go find them, to the day, to the minute. Some of the times, we saw with some of the pictures over these last couple of years, they get real close. But a lot of times it's looking at hot doe groups in specific areas and tying it back in with that on some of the bucks I've killed on 1 year rules. It's just hunting specific areas on that 1 year date, to kill them.
Yeah.
But
yeah, what are we going to do? St. Patrick now?
Well, we'll do another call. So I do have them all tallied up. We'll do another announcement on the score. I know we're going to keep everybody waiting. Don't worry, we'll message you if you win, if you got to check out, put the kids down, anything like that. So I got them all tallied up. Again, we'll give you the inside spread at 22.25 on him. But I'm all tallied up, and I haven't even showed Nate the score yet because he put a guess in on this one. So yeah, we're still taking a few guesses. What's the highest guess so far? We'll just give what the high and the low is.
The highest right now is 134. And our low is 106 and 6/8.
So yeah, so we got almost a 28
inch difference.
Yeah, almost a 30 inch antler difference on them. But so anybody wants to get their scores in on double wide, we'll still take a few scores. While I tell the St. Patrick story, same thing. I gotta go pick them up over here.
Gotta knock the borax off.
He's a little snarly. So, this deer I been hunting for a couple years. I have to look back exactly to when I had my first pictures of him. But we figured he's 5.5, if not 6.5 years old. This is St. Patrick. That's his big pile of sheds down there at the end of the bar from the last 2 years. I found one.
This would be
21.
Okay, I see. This is just the right side.
Yep, 21 is going to be right there. That's going to be 20. Other one.
This one's 20.
Yep, and then that broken G2 one last year. So there's last year's. Broke his split brow off, broke his G2 off last year, and he kind of can see he had some hollowing of his antlers, and I noticed that a lot with the ones that he broke off this year, that they were kind of hollowed. Almost looks like a drill bit went down in them. So I don't know if he just didn't calcify all the way or what it was with him. But then that's him 2 years ago. So like you said, I mean, he's jumped with some mass, but other than that, he's kind of always been the same frame. I know it's a little tricky to tell with being all busted up that he is, but I had this buck Friday afternoon. I took one of my coworkers out and tried to get him a doe harvested, and we saw this buck at 260. And I remember texting Nate and being like, "Hey, I just let St. Patrick go." And he's telling me like, "Oh, dude, I can't believe it." And I'm like, "Well," I said, "he was like 260. I mean, it wasn't like it was a chip shot or anything either." But I watched him in the scope for 5 minutes, only about probably 80 yards from where I ended up killing him on Sunday. And so I watched him with my coworker. My coworker, me had a cool hunt. Watched a couple of young bucks fight. Got to watch St. Patrick for 10 minutes. Milling around and browsing and foraging out in one of the food plots a little bit from a ways. And I guess rolling forward to Sunday, Saturday I didn't hunt. Saturday afternoon I didn't, but Sunday I went out and I checked the board on a 1-year rule and had an overlap for him and one of the other bucks that we hope might be alive, but he's been MIA for a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really like that buck for whatever reason with historical data, but so that's what I went in for, was to try to get a look at either one of those bucks. And lo and behold, he came out. And then I sent Nate the same thing. I said, "Guess what?" I said, "I just passed St. Patrick again." And he was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Yeah, he was like at 120 yards." And I texted him and remember texting him and being like, "If he comes through," because I had my pistol with me, I said, "If he comes through and gives me a shot with the pistol," I said, "I'm going to take him." And he went in the brush, and I thought that was going to be the end of seeing him that hunt. And kind of like clockwork, that was like 4 o'clock. He went in the brush. About 4:30, he rolled back out on the plot and worked a scrape, and I could kind of see him behind some brush. Just thought it was a deer. Picked up the binoculars, looked at him, and saw who it was. Saw this side was obviously his broken tines, so I could see this little fork, his little G4 he has over there. And I said, "No kidding." I said, "That's St. Patrick. He's like 40 yards away, kind of behind a big dogwood bush." And got the pistol out, got the red dot on. And tried to shoot him in front of me, but sitting in the seat, I couldn't really get turned on him and get comfortable with the pistol the way I wanted. And then he kind of walked through my shooting lane, and I'm like, "Well, that's going to be what it's going to be, I guess." I said, "I guess it serves me right." And then just being patient with it, he kind of angled toward this apple tree and this travel corridor we got on top of this ridge line. And next thing I know, here he is standing at the top of the ridge by a little doe fawn. I don't know if he was going to go over and smell her or push her or what. And stood right there on the edge of the field and took 2 steps out in it, kind of looking around, and bent down, bit himself a tin cup turnip out of the soil and started crunching on it. And I put that red dot right on the front of his shoulder and squeezed it off and dropped him right in his tracks.
Yeah.
Did the old 30-inch track job, tail end, and then the front end followed. But just a awesome buck. I think I am gonna get him fixed to his frame that he had, just out of kind of respect for him and chasing him the last couple years. Last year I passed him opening day of gun season, not on purpose. I thought he was a different buck because he had that broken G2. I had 2 8 points with a broken G2 that year, and that's what buck I thought it was. So me and him have been playing cat and mouse for the last couple of years, and then that first set of sheds, I tagged Y Buck that year, the buck that I put in that Instagram post that I'm making jerky out of tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I was bow tagged out and went back to the farm to try to hunt a doe, and guess who came rolling out? Was St. Patrick 2 years ago, and I was tagged out with the bow, so I couldn't shoot him. So we've been around, a lot of encounters from the stand over the last couple of years with him. We figure he's at least 5, maybe 6. We're going to send his front teeth out. And like I said, I think I'm going to get him fixed back up to the way he was to put that frame back and, put the sheds on the bourbon barrel. I think we're going to dual bourbon barrel mount him right here next to the bar for the podcast.
Yep.
So you're going to have St. Patrick and Hornet are going to be the features of the podcast down here when we're at the bar. But yeah, that's the story with St. Patrick. And like I said, I couldn't believe it when he stepped out and be able to get him with that 357. That's something I've been talking about for the last couple of years. As soon as I got it from my uncle, that
getting a buck with a pistol.
That was one thing I wanted to do, was take a nice buck with my pistol. So happy to do it, and happy you guys are around to share the story with. And it was an emotional roller coaster for sure with this buck, and I'm gonna miss chasing him and looking at his pictures. I mean, I remember the picture of him in velvet when we were looking at trail cam pictures, and
That's
I
my
remember
dude.
I remember saying, "That's my dude." And then
We were sitting on my couch, like
we're
watching football or
something I forget what it was. We're looking at velvet trail cam pictures, and he walks out full velvet in the video, and I'm like, "That's my dude." And then the biggest buck we had on the farm this year, who got harvested by the neighbor opening weekend, he walked out behind him, and I was like, "Oh my God, what is that?" But yeah, Mo went about probably 160 class this year. I got to go put a tape on him for my neighbor, but yeah, he walked out in front of Mo, but that was just a fun, cool video and memory of him. And I got thousands of pictures of this buck and data points, and I'll put some of that data into future 1-year rules on spots like where he was breeding a doe, or chasing a doe really close. I don't think I have one of him on top of a doe, but I got him like right up behind her hindquarters, like getting ready to get on the top.
You were all up in his business.
I was trying to be. I've been trying the last couple of years with him, and it finally panned off, came together, and the 1-year rule struck again.
Ended his story.
Ended the St. Patrick story. So Hannah says an Irish toast to St. Patrick.
We can do that.
So the Irish toast is you say something sad and then you say something happy. Well, St. Patrick's dead. Oh, because I tagged him this year. Hey!
Well, I learned something today. I didn't know what an Irish toast was.
Yeah. So you always kind of, I guess, find the good and the bad, I guess, is how that goes. So usually you go around the room and, say how your wife left you, but you met a new girl or something like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, so unfortunately we'll never be able to taste St. Patrick, but who knows? I'm ready for the next one to chase and some of these up and comers, and
I'm curious what happened to old Curly.
Curly is the only Three Stooge left of the Three Stooges group.
I think he's the only shooter buck left on the farm, isn't he? Out of all your shooters between you and the neighbors.
Yeah, if Curly's still,
there might be another one. I don't remember.
If Curly's still kicking, he's the shooter that we know of. Mm-hmm. That's still probably around, and he's a solid 8-pointer, 4-year-old. Real good buck. Kind of in that same ballpark that Larry was, that my neighbor to the north got. My one neighbor hit him, didn't recover him, and my other neighbor ended up getting him during gun season, which was good because he had pretty bad infection starting on his top of his back from where he got hit during archery. But yeah, so Curly's still alive, but Larry and Mo both couldn't get over that 4.5-year-old hump. They couldn't make it. So
Festa, what's up, man?
Jesse Festa tuning in, saying hell yeah, boys. So we'll do, I guess, because Jesse's tuning in right now, we want to shout out
the old Dahmer's skull mounts.
The old Dahmer's taxidermy, DOMMERS, spelled that way. Taxidermy and more. Is kind of what we've been joking that the name of the business is going to be with them. But we'll do a last call on scores. Jesse, like I said, whip this up. I think I dropped this off.
Jesse, give us
3 days ago.
Jesse, you give us a score yet, so you could win a hoodie.
Yeah, Jesse, you got to enter a score. I mean, you touched this deer more than probably anybody.
I don't know. Is that fair to everybody else?
I think that's fair. I mean, he's seen it in person, so it is what it is. But so yeah, last calls we'll do on the score for double wide, and then we'll give a hoodie away. And if you guys got any questions, anything like that, we'd love to hear them and answer them. And if not, we'll talk about kind of what our game plan would be if we were still, had tags in our pockets, stuff like that, going into the last little bit of season.
Still grinding it out.
Still grinding like some people out there. And like I said, I'll still be grinding for a couple does. My jerky tooth has been hit a little bit sweet the last couple of days.
Your whole basement smells like jerky.
Yeah. No, it's coming along good. So, all right. So I will say, Nate's got the scores over there. I will say, if you are, we'll do it like this, like they do in the
double check all of them, make sure we don't
double check all the platforms.
Last minute.
Nothing on the YouTube.
You
Come
got
on, Jesse.
You got Mark, right? Yeah, Mark's on there. We got Mark's score.
Yeah. Mark's in
YouTuber.
there. Jesse, give us a score if you can. Facebook seems like the one that's on target tonight. YouTube's kind of lagging, it seems. But I don't know. But yeah, so I guess we'll do like they do with the sportsman's banquets. If you guessed 125 or older or over, you're not the winner. Ooh, it's cold. So 125 and under is going to be in the game for score on him. So he didn't quite hit that 125 mark. That's kind of where I thought he was going to be, 125, 126. I think you said 127.
Yep, I went 127 on
a couple things that hurt him on that. Obviously, broken tines, broken beams, chipped up. This one messed up, broken brow. I think he would have been in that low 30 class. Had he not been all chipped up and in gun
scrapper.
Season. He was definitely a scrapper. And last year, dude, he was all cleaned off. He looked like St. Patrick last year.
Well, they look pretty similar.
Yeah, pretty similar frame. Yeah, just a really good buck. Actually, his shed's right over here from last year. Forgot to put that on the bar tonight. Yeah. So I mean, he did a fair jump, but not crazy. Put on a pretty good amount of mass. Beam. Yeah, put on good sweeping beams. Sits back off his head nice. I actually found this right about where I shot St. Patrick. Just happened to be. But so I guess enough deliberation. The score comes out at 122 and 1/8. So what do we do if we got a tie? Because we do.
We have a tie. They're within an eighth.
We have two guys that both guessed within an eighth. And they both guessed the same number. So it was 122 and 1/8. Ryan Wilkes guessed 122, and KREG, I'm assuming that's Craig, guessed 122 as well. He messaged me in. I think he's
who guessed 122 first. And
that would have been Craig guessed it first.
So Craig was the first one to put 122 in?
Craig was the first one at 122 via Facebook message from last week's episode. So,
well, we should have. Well, that's our bad because we should have told Ryan that number was already taken.
Or we send them both a hoodie.
Ryan's a good friend of ours. He gets a hoodie.
Yep. We'll send them both a hoodie. So
that was on us.
That's our bad.
That's on us. Sorry.
That's our bad.
Sorry, guys. But
Sorry,
either way, you both get a hoodie.
Yep. So to be fair, we'll send Ryan.
But for more on from here on out in the guessing, we're going to try and keep track. If you do guess the same score as somebody on bucks in the future, we will let you know if that score has already been posted, and hopefully you can give us another score.
Yeah. Yep.
But they both get hoodies.
Yep. And I also want to point out that there were some really, really other good close scores.
My wife was within an inch. Good job, Liza.
Liza was within an inch and an eighth. Aaron messaged in at 123 3/8. 124 and 4/8 is what my dad thought. 120, 123, 125, 126. A lot of people within, 5 inches or so of actual score. A lot of them, a majority of them. So good on you guys for estimating score.
There. Yeah, everyone was right there.
I guess highlights with them. Spread went 22 and 2/8. Left beam was the longest beam at 23 and 2/8. And his longest tine was both the ones on his would be his left side. Both of those measured at 6 and 3/8. So he was pretty short on the tines.
Wow, they're all gone.
Yeah, and they're chipped up and gone. So, I mean, I figure he probably lost 5, maybe 6 inches, if not a little bit more. With his beam broke, his tines broke, brow tine broke. I mean, you name it. He's scrapper, dude.
Yep. Him and St.
Scrappy.
Patrick busted each other up.
But
Father and son bucks.
Liza says both hoodies to everybody, and Billy says they're both winners. Liza says she's proud of me. She said she was proud of you too during your story. Forgot to add that in.
Thanks, Liza.
Thanks, Liza. And Liza says she's actually listening when you guys talk. She knows.
She knows.
She knows with the score. We're fed up with it enough that she's gotta pick up on it, and she is, dude. She needs to get out and punch that tag. She got her first bull buck this year.
I don't know. We'll get her first muzzleloader buck.
And this is a great time to say, for a lot of people that don't know, this is a great topic for this kind of caveat to this. So you would think that because she used her bow muzzleloader tag, she would be done during the muzzleloader season.
This is a good topic.
This is a very good topic for people that don't know this. So your bow muzzleloader tag obviously is just good for those seasons, but your regular season tag, if you have the appropriate muzzleloader stamp or bow stamp to hunt during the primitive season, your regular season tag turns into an either sex tag.
In the late season.
In the late season only. And that includes the holiday hunt.
Yeah, I was going to say it includes the holiday
includes
seasons.
the holiday hunt. So if you have your bow stamp, you can hunt with your bow during the late season or the holiday season. And if you have your muzzleloader stamp, you can hunt with your muzzleloader during the late muzzleloader primitive season and holiday season, and use your regular season tag, your regular season buck tag, if you haven't harvested your buck with it, and actually use it as an either sex tag.
It would be pretty wild to kill 2 bucks with your bow or muzzleloader in the late season.
That would be pretty awesome.
That would be cool.
But anyway, so
Bo don't like the holiday hunt.
Bo's anti-holiday hunt.
Bo don't like the holiday
Bo
hunt.
says boo.
I tagged my second buck the day after Christmas last year with my muzzleloader.
Yep. You
were
tagged
with
out
me
last 2 years.
I did. I did. I got 2 beautiful bucks past 2 years.
Yep. So I think the holiday hunt depends on where you are. And again, it comes back to, like we talk about, it's also your job kind of on the properties that you hunt to make those management decisions, whether you want to hunt during those seasons or if you want to just be done. If we do have, let's just say, guests out to our property or something like that, we are at this point harvesting does to keep populations in check and also do our data collection, see how old they are, see if they are showing evidence of having fawns that year, see if they are bred this year, which actually both those we've harvested so far were bred this year. Mm-hmm. We can talk about that in a separate podcast topic if people want to know how you figure that out.
You and your autopsies.
Me and my autopsies. But all that is good relevant data to know that does were bred already, and that's a good sign of successful balance that I have does that are bred on my properties I hunt. Mm-hmm. So that you don't have too many does where they're not all being bred during that first estrus cycle. And getting some overlap. And like I said, St. Patrick that night when I saw him, he was on the browse. He was browsing a lot in this little overcut area. He was in the food plot a little bit. He was making some scrapes, but he's got enough years under his belt, literally, where he knows if it doesn't smell right, he's not going to even go over and chase it. He doesn't have to. The buck actually had a fair amount of fat still on him. It was when they peeled him. Across his hind quarter and stuff like that, and inside on some of his organs.
I still think you should mount him with the old tin cup turnip hanging out of his mouth.
I think I've been thinking about it.
That would be cool.
Because he did. He bent down, picked up that turnip, and he was squared up broadside.
Was it still in his mouth when you found him? I don't remember in the video.
No, it wasn't in his mouth when I found him. But he had a little bit of the shakes and the nerves, obviously. I hit that hit where the spine dips down right there in front of the shoulder blade is where I hit him. And that's what dropped him, obviously, right down. Actually, Dan Bernessel saved me the section of spine where I hit him, and my 357 bullets in there. He said, wrote it on my box, wrote right next to it, wrote it on the box.
The bullets in the spine.
He says it's right in the bag with the spine.
Dan's the man.
Dan's the man.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep. So I think that's pretty cool. I'm curious to see what that bullet did. I mean, obviously it shattered that vertebra that's in there. You can feel what it's like. But dropped him right on the spot. I'm shooting a 180 grain Winchester Partition Golds, which if anybody has any of those, I would love to buy your boxes because they no longer make that ammunition. And that gun is a hammer with that 357, 180 grain Winchester load. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna stop hunting with that pistol during the firearm season. It's a different animal, man.
Yeah. If you have, you have the opportunities where, the deer are coming in that close.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of guys that carry them, I guess.
Yep, and it might cost you a couple opportunities, but
I lean more towards I'd take the I guess optimize my chances.
Mm-hmm.
If it's rifle season and I can reach 200 yards.
If it's rifle season and
I'm hunting with what can reach out there.
Yeah, if it's rifle season and you're hunting and the sticker buck comes out at 200 and you're just toting the pistol.
Yeah, that would be a real disappointment to me.
Yeah, right.
I try and optimize my chances to the max.
That's fair. So we had a good question come in on the YouTube channel. Mark Rasmussen comes in and says, if you kill a doe with a button buck, do you think that the button buck will be more likely to reside on the property? What's your thoughts?
I think it all depends on when he actually gets to be, I guess, a year and a half, 2.5, and he gets a little more competitive with the other deer. It all depends on who's the dominant deer around. I think he's either going to get pushed off in breeding season. I mean, I think either way, that buck's probably going to be in the area.
Yeah.
Whether or not he's just going to live on your property because he got orphaned there.
Right.
I think as he gets older, he's just going to follow suit with what nature does.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a balance there. If there's a spot for him on that property, I think he'll slot in, like you're saying. Absolutely. But this time of the year, you typically don't see button bucks with does.
No, if you are hunting and you see a doe alone out in the field, take a good look at it.
Yeah.
It might be a button buck.
Yeah.
Before you squeeze the trigger.
What I don't know, 5 out of 6 times probably going to be a button buck by himself.
Unless you're just looking for meat, whatever.
Yeah.
God bless you. I hope you get them and fill your freezer. But.
Yeah. And again, that's not, like we say, 5 out of 6 times. I think that's kind of a fair number. That lone antlerless deer is going to be a button buck. So get the old optics out, check them over really good. Look at the length of the head. I think is the best, because body size is tough to judge without other animals. But if you look at that head and it's a short, like we'll call it a 1 liter soda bottle, it's a fawn. When you get that 2 liter head with a brisket that sticks way out, you're looking at a mature doe. So I think that's a good way, because wintertime it's kind of hard. They are putting on that that winter weight, so they're rounding out a little bit. But I think that head's a really good one to look at.
The head. I know something that helped me out determine it. I know because button bucks will put on weight and grow faster than younger does. So then button bucks will get to be the size of like a 2-year-old doe.
Oh yeah, be as big as mama.
Yeah, they'll be right there by late season. Something. I mean, if the deer looks proportional, legs to body size, it's probably a fawn in my opinion. If you look at the deer and the legs almost look kind of short to the size of its body, like it almost looks a little more elongated, that's probably a mature doe.
Yep.
But if the legs and the body, everything just looks like kind of proportionate, it's probably a fawn, probably a younger deer.
Yep. So, and the other thing is too with those doe fawn versus buck fawn, with a doe fawn, you're going to see a lot more kind of rounded head. I've noticed they look a lot more round on top, whereas a button buck, you're going to look at it and it's going to be a lot more kind of squared up and flat. Is another good kind of characteristic with it. So, but that's kind of your quick and easy, antlerless thing. And like you said too, if you got a pile of, does and fawns out on a food plot or field or timber cut or something like that you're hunting over, You know, the bigger one in the group, that's where you go back to, like you said, the proportions. You know, one proportional body size might be that, you know, really big up and coming button buck, you know, compared to some of those, you know, younger does in the group. So, you know, look them over really good. Like I said, I look for that big, I call it that Coke bottle head, that big old 2 liter, you know, for a head on them. But I like tagging does. I mean, in our area, um, we kind of have a rule of 5 or more in a doe group, does and fawns, you know, counted. You take a doe out of it. Other than opening day gun season, if you don't have a buck on the ground, or like prime rut. But early season and our late season, if it's a doe group of 5 or more, we cut the doe group down a doe or 2. And that's kind of worked for us with a balance. We don't try to shoot for a specific number. Too many years, I think we did that. And those years we did that, guess what? There's empty holes on the walls from those years because I think I was putting too much pressure on my ground, trying to hit a certain number that I thought I had to kill, you know, based on how many we saw. So I think limiting those doe groups.
The group number, family number, I think it's a good rule to go by.
Yep. And on some properties that might be, you know, out of a 4 group or whatever. You know, it depends on the property. And again, if you need one for the freezer, you know, that's your call. It's your tag, your choice, no matter what. You know, we're just trying to give you the information that if you want to use that information to make those decisions, you know, happy for you.
For sure.
Bo sent a YouTube link, why you shouldn't shoot does. I don't think it's needed on every property.
No, I think there's a lot of high pressure properties that, you know, you usually only see when you do see a doe or fawn group, it's a doe with 2 fawns.
Yep.
You don't see, you know, I mean, I've been doing hunting for 15 years and I've hunted a lot of high pressure ground before I was fortunate enough to get a lease or something.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, that's mostly what I saw on those high pressure grounds was just you know, if you saw a doe and fawn group coming through, it was just a doe and a fawn or a doe and 2 fawns.
Yep.
Very rarely did you actually see 2 mature does together.
Maybe 2 mature does and a fawn or 2. Maybe.
Yeah. On a good set.
Yep. Right. Right.
But
well, yeah, no, I haven't seen that link. I think it looks like one of Jeff Sturgis's videos, maybe. I'll have to check that link out. I think he shared that on another one of my posts. I think he shared that same video. But I'll probably get out and shoot another doe or 2 for more meat for the freezer to keep the numbers in check. But I'm also going to extend it out for, you know, some friends and family and stuff like that to come out and, you know, harvest some does late season too.
Yeah.
You know, just because we gotta keep those numbers in check. And my kind of quick numbers I give to people in my seminars and stuff I do is if you want to reduce a doe herd, you take over 30%. So if you have 10 does on a property, you can take 3 or let's just say take 4 and you're going to reduce that population by a percentile, I would call it. And if you want to maintain it, you could take 2 or 3 does out of 10, and with average mortality, you won't move the needle. So if you have, you know, 10 does or 5 does, you know, you can take 1 or 2, no problem. And if you want to grow your herd, you know, like Bo says in that YouTube link he shared, maybe you don't shoot any, you know, for your property if you're trying to grow a deer herd on your property. So I think it all kind of varies, but I think that 30 rule is a good one for people to judge because, you know, we're good with looking at numbers and saying, okay, 3 out of 10, I got maybe 10 does and fawns. You know, I could take 2 or 3 and be fine. And that's 2 or 3 total, not 2 or 3 per person per plate. You know, it's not
per guy hunting.
Yeah, per guy hunting. But no. So you just be smart with it. And again, I might take, you know, I'm gonna probably take 1 or 2 off my grandmother's just to kind of because that's what I do every year over there. Got to keep that place relatively maintaining. And the farm, you know, like I said, it'll be probably guests. My dad's taking a doe. My uncle's taking a doe. You know, the neighbors have taken a couple too. So talk to your neighbors and see what they're taking. You know, you don't want to start taking a doe or 2 if your neighbors have shot 6. You know, so, you know, reaching out to your neighbors, you know, also a good time to take over a bag of jerky or something that you made, and say, hey, I just tried making this batch, and then be able to work together and stuff like that. You never know. Some of my neighbors I never thought I'd be good friends with them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it all kind of works out with it. All right, let's go back to the YouTube line.
Flap's here.
Sorry, Plap. I don't know.
He
how
chimed
long
in a
you've been.
little late. He was telling me for the past 2 days. He goes, "When's that podcast?
Wednesdays, every Wednesday, Plap.
Well, every Wednesday, 7:30.
7:30. As long as we aren't gonna be.
He was a little upset with me. I wasn't here the one before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's all right.
It'll be all right. And I think we're saying next week we'll be back at the shed, the deer shed.
Yeah. I think we're gonna mix it up a little bit next week.
Mm-hmm.
Make Ben drive out to my house next week.
Yep, absolutely. So, just mixing it up. I know you also got a new keg. What's the crafty keg on tap now at the deer
Raspberry cream ale is what I got on tap now.
That is one of my favorites of Mike's.
Yep. Mike made me wait a week for it, but I was like, it's worth the wait.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I guess a little something I want to throw in there is going back to, I guess, tagging my second buck this year, going back to the weather and the conditions of the day, the weather leading up to that day, and how we were talking about them warmer temperatures and it being sunny, low wind, and how, and we were both talking, and our experiences. The green fields are, the ones to sit on those kind of conditions.
Yep.
And then when we talked about the holiday hunt last year, it was kind of a similar situation.
Just flipped.
It was flipped because on my way home from work, I know that my wife's family's friends with the guy that owned the property.
Yep.
And I was driving by it, and it was, late December, and there was still a block of standing corn out there. And I still had my regular season buck tag that we'd already explained that you can use in the later seasons as an either sex tag. And I don't know, the weather was coming up. I remember I called you, asked you if you wanted to go with me because you were looking to, possibly,
maybe I hadn't shot a buck last year
because I asked my wife if she could get a hold of the landowner and see if we could go back there for a day, and we had a day permission.
Shout out Liza, thank you.
Shout out Liza, she's always helping me out. But so Liza gave him a ring. He said, "Yeah, that's fine. You guys can go out there this evening or whatever." And we went out there, and Ben sat on one side of the hedgerow, and I went on the west side over in that field where I kept seeing all that standing corn, and it worked out with the same thing. It was the same mindset for that hunt. It was really cold. I think we were in the low 20s.
Oh yeah, it was. It was cold. A little bit of snow on the ground. Light wind.
We were both sitting on the ground,
and we had big weather coming the next day. The next day it was going to get really windy. I remember.
Yep, I remember the big fluffy flakes coming down real slow.
Yep. And
it was the same thing. It was right around that last light.
Yep.
That last shooting time, and he stepped out, and I was able to get him. So it was looking back on it, I guess that theory was the same thing that happened this year. It was just reverse in weather.
Yeah, exactly. Looking at the warmer, and that's what I've seen too. Is you get on some of those, you might have somebody sit in a field edge in the morning or something like that. But if you have, like, let's just say a winter wheat field and it's all frosted over hard, the deer don't touch it till that frost burns off. If they don't have to, you know what I mean? So, sitting those is afternoon food sources, why people kind of call them afternoon food sources. There is still some sits that can, yield some deer, obviously, in the mornings this time of the year. But, as a rule, I usually kind of don't. But if you do have, again, like we talk about looking at the weather pattern, if you got bad weather coming in the evening, they're going to move earlier that night. Like if you got weather coming in at 6 or 7 o'clock, they're going to move earlier to get that feedback on. So when the weather hits, they can lay down, lay low, and then come back out after that weather moves through. So watching that weather and when that weather's hitting, can help you time your hunts too accordingly.
That's been the biggest factor that's helped me be successful, I guess, the past 4 or 5 years of hunting, is actually paying attention more to those weather fronts and what the weather's doing, and actually hunting them, more strategically and more accordingly to what's happening, in Mother Nature.
Mm-hmm.
And that's real. I would say that's the biggest factor in my success the past 5 years.
Right. Clap says, just wondering, when did the hunt change from driving deer to setting and waiting for the deer to come to you? I think it's still a balance of both. I think there's more stand hunting, I guess you'd call it now, than drives. But even when I was picking up Dad's buck at Jesse's today, there was another group there picking up a skull mount, and they're getting ready to do a couple, end of season pushes this weekend and stuff like that. So, I think that like we talked about, it's an effective tool.
Yeah.
Pushes and
a lot of deer have died because of deer drives.
Yep, a lot of them, no doubt. But I think to have consistent success on a property year after year, your woodsmanship and hunting it smarter, you're going to be more consistently the one tagging deer than somebody that's and there's guys that go drive and kill deer, but I
would say the groups that drive deer are successful. I wouldn't say it's
individuals.
It's an individual success.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely driving deer is a group effort.
Yep. And I think that there's definitely some merit into it. Some public pieces maybe. I know Billy Harvey and them guys, they did a few drives and stuff down in PA, but on like thousands of acres of, state forest and stuff like that.
But it's not a property they plan on hunting all year.
Yeah, that too. Or it could be some people do it end of the season. Thanksgiving is another traditional kind of drive day. I think that kind of changed with I guess the video era of hunting. I think is kind of where that, because a lot of people didn't think that way. You didn't sit on a stump and wait.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of went and found the deer, or pushed the deer to somebody else. I think that was kind of the video era. 80s, I think is when that started to change.
And people started watching these guys, like Stan Potts and
a
bunch of them other guys that consistently killed.
Yeah, the old Night and Hale movies. I mean, the
jury guys.
The old school Mossy Oak and Realtree, like way back when.
That's what I grew up watching, was the juries.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. But I think that had a lot to do with it.
I actually still use their app. I'm a big fan of DeerCast.
You are a big fan of DeerCast? Yeah.
I am a big fan of DeerCast. I do like their app. I think the weather's and how you can plug in your location of your hunting spot, and I think their weather and everything that they predict is fairly accurate. I mean, their deer movement scale, I guess, can vary, but no, I do like the there you go, right on cue. But yeah, I'm a big fan of DeerCast. I've been using that for years.
I use mostly Weather Underground. For my weather tracking, I like their hour by hour. But I also will, use the radar that's on that. And I found that pretty accurate. But again, especially with wind directions, I've noticed with certain spots, depending on topography especially, if you say like this would be great with a west wind, but it's like in kind of a channel in a valley or something like that, you're never going to get maybe that west wind to even blow in that spot. Even when it's west, it's coming out of the southwest or, southwest. So I think,
that just comes with,
I think the wind,
knowing the property.
The wind can be a little deceiving. But for looking at incoming weather patterns, temperature, pretty easy and relative to get a good grasp with a good one by Weather Underground. They have that, like Bo says, with the history function right on cue with the list of features on it. You can go back historically and look at the history of the way the weather's gone and stuff like that in past years.
That's pretty
so
cool.
You can go way back into like the year before and stuff like that and see what the weather was. I haven't tracked that weather with the 1 year. It's a lot of data dumping as it is to do the 1 year rule stuff, let alone if I put weather in with it. I'd have to write my own algorithm.
That's a full-time job.
That would be a full-time
You're
job.
making it a full-time gig over there.
Yeah, as it is. I mean, it's a lot of data dumping with, stand observations.
Which I mean, to be successful year in, year out, it literally is a second job.
Yep.
You really got to love it to get that, that in depth with it.
Well,
sure.
and like we were talking with I forget who me and my dad were talking with, but they were asking something about trail cameras and, if we pulled them and stuff like that. And I said, yeah, I pull them here and there. They kind of look at me like I can't believe that I'm not pulling my cameras. And I'm like, I don't care about this year's data until next year when I see who's left and what years, what times they were there this year so I can hunt them there next year. Like I said, I'm not 100% all in on the 1 year rule. Like we always talk about, weather's going to trump, your stand location, approach, and exit is going to trump any 1 year data. But if you can line up all three of those things, big weather change, excellent stand location with access, and then you throw a 1 year rule on top of it, if you can stack all those odds in your favor, why not? If you can stack one more thing that gives you that little bit of chance or edge, even if it's a 10 to 20% increase of a chance.
Right. That's what I was kind of getting at earlier is when I go out, I try to do my homework and I want to hunt to the optimal of my ability, give myself the best chance I can to be successful. And that's it. That's the name of the game. That's how you do it, putting your time in and learning this stuff.
Bo says I like to match it with my trail cam picks from previous years to see what wind the deer were using that day. Yeah, that's going to be somewhat. I don't know. See, I agree with that, using wind to some extent, from what I've noticed on observations. But the deer that locate around a food source, which is going to locate around a stand location, whether from the food side or bedding side, no matter what, they're not just going to not go to that food source that day because it's an east wind and not a west wind.
Right.
If you got deer locating to a food source or to a bedding area might shift a little bit. They might shift on the other side of it. But if you're getting close to that food source for an afternoon or close to a bedding for a morning, I think the wind might be a little bit more of a factor with it. But at the same time, yeah, it all comes down to access.
I mean, you're talking about that bedding area. I mean, a wind is more dependent on, if I hunt the spot. I don't necessarily think it's whether if the deer are there or not. I think the deer are there regardless. If the food's there, there's deer there.
Yep.
Whether it's the one you're looking for, well, I don't know. But there's definitely deer there. If there's food there, I don't care if it's the north, south, east, west wind. There's going to be deer there.
Yep.
But it's all about access, whether the deer actually come out. Because if you access it, and you access it because the deer are there, but you're accessing it with your wind blowing right into where the deer are going to come from, bedding.
Well, I'm hunting the field, Nate. Yeah. We hear that all the time.
Yeah.
You hear that all the time. I'm hunting the field, so I want to blow it back here.
No.
You want to blow it down the edge of the field, if at all possible, away from the good bedding cover.
I mean, just blow it across the open field. Chances are, especially in gun season, you're going to get a chance at a shot at the animal before it picks you off.
Right.
I mean, if you're out there looking for a mature buck, chances are, if you're those first doe that are come out might cross your wind path before he gets there.
Yeah, but I kind of like to, and again, this all comes down to setting up your stand, setting up your location. Like you the other night didn't have a stand that you really wanted to sit with that wind like that.
No. So grab the trigger sticks.
Grab the trigger sticks.
Grab the chair. I went and huddled up in a little goldenrod pocket. And I knew where the bedding was and everything, and I knew roughly where the deer were going to come from. They were going to come from two directions.
Yep.
And that was it. I changed my strategy from where my stands were to because I knew I wanted to hunt that spot. but I changed my strategy from where my stands were because the wind wasn't right for how I wanted to hunt it. Because I was trying to let the does funnel out into the food.
Right.
Because there's always, I guess, there's always the chance that the buck comes out first. But more times than not, you get the does, you get that first doe come out. Then you see her looking back, and then the other ones start coming out slowly.
Yep.
And then usually the last one, right at the last chance, the last 5 minutes you can legally hunt, he shows up, and hopefully it happens.
Make it count, yeah.
And I think that's more times than not. But yeah, it's... Yeah. So there's definitely ways you can get around it in gun season. Bow season can be a little tougher.
Right. I actually just saw this on my side of the YouTube, or not YouTube, but Facebook comments. We had a question come way back in from Joe at the beginning, and I apologize for this, Joe, because it got skipped over when all the guesses came in. So it must have been right when we talked about the guessing score. Joe brought up a good topic of needing to talk about the DEC allowing these counties to opt in and opt out of these seasons. So with the early season antlerless only season that's in September, counties can opt out. And now they've also written in that counties can opt out of the holiday hunt. So this is a good point to go in and check with your county and see if the holiday hunt is still going on, and or voice your opinion on yes or no. Make your voice heard, whatever side of the coin you sit on. If you're like Bo, like he said, boo holiday hunt, maybe for his county he would oppose it if he's in the southern zone for it. So just for an example, or if you support it, I think it's a nice opportunity to get out there for a little bit longer. People are home from college. I didn't get to hunt a whole lot in college, because I was away, living on campus and stuff like that. I didn't commute. So I would have loved to have a holiday season where I could have came back home and, tried to go out another couple more times while I was on holiday break.
I love hunting, and as long as I got a buck tag and I can be out there and still chasing them, I want to be.
Yeah.
So I'm all for the...
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna
for the late season.
I think
holiday hunt.
I think this weekend will be getting a couple people out at the farm, taking a doe or two. But I think I would really like to shoot another doe or two with my muzzleloader this year. I know it's going to be yet another year where I don't shoot a deer with my brand new rifle or my brand new muzzleloader. Well, I'll shoot a buck anyway, but
yeah, you got to get a muzzleloader buck. Yeah. Seeing you started muzzleloader hunting last year.
Well, it won't be this year.
No, it won't be this year.
My regular season tag has been filled, so won't be this year. Maybe next year. We'll see. Damn 1 year rules and good weather patterns show up on the sit alerts that we talk about, and that's what happens, dude. We called it. We called our shots both times this year, pretty much.
Yeah, things kind of fell into order for us.
It doesn't happen like that.
No, this was kind of a unique year, honestly.
Yep. But Bo said called Jeremy Hurst last year on the topics. He said counties cannot opt out of the holiday hunt. The post I heard the other day was that they're going to be able to opt out with the legislation.
I haven't looked into
with the New York Conservation Council. I heard that they were going to be able to opt out with it. Maybe that's something in the future that they're voting on. Maybe I'm mistaken on it. Maybe I didn't read the post all the way. That's entirely possible. But I believe that they were talking with the Conservation Council about the ability to opt out of these seasons. I don't know. I guess I got to look at it a little bit more.
I guess I'm not really thinking too much of the holiday hunt because I was trying to kill my buck now. Mm-hmm. I guess if it got closer to the holiday hunt, I would have looked more into the rules about it.
Yeah. Bo says he's going to call and check on it tomorrow.
Yeah, Bo, let us know next week.
Yeah.
Or message Ben and let us know.
Yeah, let us know. I'd be interested to say what Jeremy says. Yeah. But
I think we had another comment come. I like we'll come back to Bo's comment up here.
The habitat one?
Yeah, we'll come back to that one.
We had one on the YouTube line. I saw it bidding in.
Yeah.
Plapp says, With the new satellite technologies, do hunters watch their cameras to see if a deer is near a stand that they're hunting in?
like zooming right in on it to see if he's right there.
I think he's talking about cell cams.
Cell cams, yeah, he probably is. Yeah, I guess they do. I mean, I think cell cams. I mean, I know it's like with anything with phones, you get drop calls and everything else. But I mean, the faster you can get that data, the faster you can process it and go, I guess, execute your plan.
I'll give my hot take on it.
Hmm.
So, if anybody's watched Jeff Sturgis, his big thing is can't kill him from the couch has saved more big bucks, meaning by putting more pressure on the ground, they save more big bucks. I think that cell cameras are saving more big bucks.
You think cell cams are
saving more?
Okay.
Because if you were, and I know you and me don't run cell cams.
No.
But I know a lot of guys that if there's not a buck on their camera, they're not hunting.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think that that's almost, if you have, like we were talking about, that great weather day or just ahead of a weather front or something like that coming up, and you go, yeah, I haven't seen a shooter in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You got to balance all these different tools, But I think that's my hot take of the night.
Well, I haven't. I mean, I checked my cameras. I didn't have a shooter on camera on that property I shot that deer on. I didn't have a shooter on camera since opening day. But I wasn't seeing anything on my other property where I was getting a lot of, nocturnal nighttime pictures of bucks, but I wasn't seeing anything when I was out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, I still want to go hunt. I'm going to go see what happens. And that's what happened.
With good condition.
But you know where my camera was, where he walked out? Because cameras don't catch anything. Cameras only catch a certain...
They catch that 30-degree view 30 feet out.
Yeah. And that buck could have walked 40 feet out in front of that camera every single day. I mean, the camera wouldn't have picked it up.
Like I said, my hot take is cell cams and the constant checking. Like people that got to check their cameras 2 to 3 times a week to know what's out there. They got to know it. If you're that person, get a cell cam. Don't go out there and put that extra pressure on your pieces. But I think cell cams, are saving more deer than people think of, than that people would expect to. I think it's a bigger number. I wouldn't say it's a majority of them are getting saved.
So you're saying that you're saying that the bucks are there.
Yep.
But the cell cameras
they're not showing the data, so people aren't.
As the season changes, obviously deer movement changes slightly. Mm-hmm. So, and I think, I know I'm guilty of it, is, you get starting that pre-rut activity. Everybody puts their cameras right on the scrape, and those cameras don't leave that scrape until the end of the year.
Yep.
Well, right now, there's bucks still using scrapes. You still might get some activity on scrapes, mm-hmm. but scrapes aren't the hot thing right now.
It's food.
It's food.
Or thermal cover.
They're not going and checking those scrapes. So what those, mature bucks are doing or anything like that, they're kind of sticking with the herd at this point. They're kind of going out, eating, they're doing their thing. They're not cruising, hitting those scrapes where everybody has left their camera because it's gun season now. And
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, I agree. I agree with what you're
saying. So if you actually want to optimize your camera pictures, you're going to have to move them more on the edge of a food source. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to basically, if you have cell cams, go out and maybe surround a hot food source you have.
Yep.
Set one on every edge. Right. And then you might be
because that's where your survivors are going to be at the end of season 2 is on that food source.
They're going to be on the food source.
They're going to be having to put that.
They're going to be bedding very close to it. So when you're accessing those places, you need to know where the bedding is. Yeah. You need to know that your wind's not blowing into it when you're accessing them. Mm-hmm. You need to know all this stuff if you're going to be successful, because those bucks right now, all them survivors are right on the edge of that food source. They're not 100 yards in the woods in some thick bedding. They're in some tight little patch right on the corner of that food source.
If it's on pressure.
If it's on pressure, they're just waiting to kind of move out to it and start feeding.
Yep.
They want to use as little energy as possible because they have no energy from chasing tail for the past month.
Yeah, they've dropped 20% of their body weight.
They don't want to put up forth
No.
any more effort than they have to. They're just trying to
Nope.
regain what they can to survive the winter.
Yep, they lost a whole fifth of their body weight. They are in recovery mode.
Mhm.
So,
I like it.
absolutely. But like I said, my hot take of the night, and I know people are probably beating me up on it, is cell cameras. I think the data comes too late no matter what. So you know a buck's in there.
It's a tool.
Yeah, you can have success with it, no doubt.
It's like anything. It's all
Yeah.
all in how you use it.
Well, like we said, we stacked up all the information. The good stand location is number one. Stand location, access, everything, whatever. Number two is your weather.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, cell camera, 1 year roll data, whatever that third layer of that cake wants to be. That's where you can stack all those odds in your favor. But it all boils back to just being a good hunting strategy. With the weather, those kind of almost get hand in hand, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And then obviously seasonability. You got to hunt the right spot during the season.
You gotta know a little bit about the animal,
The biology
of it. You got to know something about him.
Yep.
What he's doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we covered that one pretty good.
So, Billy chimed in. Thank you, Billy, for the update on the opt out. Billy says the law has passed and is on the governor's desk right now.
Law has passed for the
opt out. I believe Billy's meaning with the opt out for that law passed. So, so then it would be up to the county legislators to opt it out before Christmas, basically, because it's the day after Christmas is when the holiday hunt starts, for the southern zone. So, but
So Bo chimed in a little earlier. Let's go back to that one.
Bo's comment coming
about
up
the
here.
habitat.
Habitat season is coming. You guys got any special plan this year? What about you, Nate? What's your off season plan, if any?
I gotta say,
other than
it's
beating some shed miles with me.
Yeah, I mean, definitely going shed hunting early March.
Yep.
It's a little harder for me because I don't own my own piece. The one owner of the property I hunt, Steve, he did allow me to spread some of your mix out into some beans and stuff this year, but it's all the properties I hunt I don't own. I have to go through the landowner to be able to do anything. I mean, obviously when I'm hanging stands, they don't have any problems with me nipping down some saplings or trimming some branches, obviously, but I mean, I'm pretty limited because I don't have I guess 100% permission to go do whatever I want.
Right.
I guess off season, I guess habitat wise, I don't really have much. I definitely have this year. I definitely, with some rotation of crops and farmers changing alfalfa fields into like corn or bean fields and things like this, I definitely have a different plan in mind for some different stand locations. I guess my biggest thing is just keeping tuned in with my bow, so I'm ready when the, because I mean January, I'm pretty sure archery leagues are gonna. We got the call today. January 3rd, our indoor archery league starts.
Less than a month away.
I mean, I'm going to start, I guess, preparing myself for the opportunity, not so much working on habitat. I wish I could do more with habitat.
You can come over and run a saw for me anytime.
Oh, Ben, I know. I'm sure I will.
I'm sure Brian will put you to work.
Oh, Brian's got no problem putting me to work. But, no. I mean, unfortunately for me and that side of things, that's just, I mean, everyone deals with things different. Everyone has a different situation, but that's a little bit of mine. I just kind of get myself prepared, I guess physically, and keeping my muscle memory and everything with the bow tuned in for bow season. And I guess that's kind of how I prepare in the off season. Just maybe do, pop up a few new stands with some of the rotations of the crops, and maybe run some cameras, get my cameras out there about August sometime.
Mhm.
Usually when I do it, when the bucks start coming into a little more hard horn, seeing what's out there. But yeah, I'm fairly limited to what I can do
Right.
habitat wise.
Well, there's a lot of stuff like you said. There's the off-season planning. There's keeping yourself sharp with your equipment in an archery league, or even getting out there. And I know it's expensive. Now it's getting a little easier to find ammo, but maybe setting up a new gun, or maybe they don't make your ammo anymore, so you're getting a new bullet and getting that right. So when it comes right before season, a month before season, you can check, make sure everything's on, you're good to go, and you're not scrambling at the last minute. There's a lot of prep time there that you can use in that off season habitat season time, to help you be successful next season.
We do a lot of that.
Or the data crunching, like we talk about with this 1 year rule thing. And like we say, I track it on a specific buck level, but I also track it in specific zones, or see if there's overlap with different bucks. You know what I mean? So it's pretty good jerky, isn't it?
That's pretty good. I'm gonna grab another one.
So, and that's tonight's sponsor jerky is LEM's Hickory, is what that one is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hindquarter sliced steak that was out of Wybuck, who was also a 1 year rule buck. So back in 2020, actually the one that saved St. Patrick's life that year, because I was tagged out when he came by. But habitat wise, my habitat season, I always have a long game plan list, everything like that. And it all comes down to the mercy of my scheduling with clients, with property visits and on-site consults and property plans and stuff like that. Real estate, all that kind of stuff, all blended together on top of my 6 to 2:30 job at the college. Which if we get a heavy snow year, I also am limited because I got to plow snow most of the time. So it's just finding that balance. I mean, obviously there's stuff I want to do every year. A couple things on my list is a couple access trails I want to cut into some different spots going forward. A couple new stand locations I've already picked out on some of the properties I hunt. There's possibly one new property for next year. I gotta see if I can lock that in. I think that'll be a really good one. I think that's one you and me will probably hunt together. That one we talked about up in 8F. So we'll see if we can get that locked in, and we might have a new piece that we'll be on over there and talking about on the podcast. Won't give away too many deets.
Well, it's not locked in yet.
There's no GPS locations either given out, but it's not locked in yet either. But yeah, if we could lock up that new, it'd be a permission piece, But if we could lock that piece in, that'd be. It looks like a really nice piece the way it lays out. A lot of nice habitat features, And we talk about in the podcast how we read those habitat features and why we're setting up in certain spots like that, too, going forward. So, but yeah.
Well, this will be my first full year with my son.
Yeah, so that's going to also influence your shed time. Well, you can put him on the little baby pack.
Oh, the weather's decent enough. I mean, I'll just pack him in. He can go.
Yeah, pack him and bundle him with his little bear hat.
I mean, we usually bring the dogs and let them run around and get some exercise.
Yep, Bear's good. He found his first all on his own last year. Picked up I think 6 last year that we set him on. Ones we had spotted and then ran him over it with the wind, and he got him. But he found one all by himself last year.
Yep, he did good last year.
Yep. So, and that's what that's the big thing.
My dog Ted, the old man, he found.
They found
baby Ted.
Baby Ted.
Of course, he's not a shed dog. He's just a rotten meat dog. But he found him.
Yep. Yep. Found old baby Ted and everything like that. So, Bo says, "Is there any state land around there?" 8F. There's the Lakeshore Marsh. Up by Sodus, I believe that's what it's called.
Not sure. Not super familiar with the area.
And then Montezuma, Hollands Island, that area.
Yeah, Hollands Island. Yeah.
Yep. So there's quite a bit. I mean, 8F. There's quite. I don't know if Montezuma is going to be an 8F. That might be in. I think that's 7. That turns into out there. I'd look it up, but I don't know. Want it to slow down the connection. So, but yeah, there's some state land pieces around. Galen Wildlife Management Area down there on. Can't remember the road there. But yeah, there's a couple. You can find a full list of them on the DEC website. You know, the state lands and the WMUs and the counties. So 8F is, I think, part of Cayuga, Wayne, and Monroe County.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan chimes in, says, how do you go about starting a dog on sheds? I've only trained 2. I say trained. I use that word very lightly. I've only trained 2 dogs for sheds. My dog that had the best nose, I think, for sheds also loved to trash on deer. So she doesn't get brought out for sheds anymore, Sadie.
That was a hound dog, though.
Yeah, that was Sadie. She loved the chase and getting after him. But her nose unfrickin' matched, dude. Like, she found at least a half a dozen all by herself.
She blue tick?
Red bone and black and tan. Red bone, black and tan mix. Great dog, great nose, phenomenal shed dog. But if you got her in there, dude, you could have that collar up on 10 and try to call her off. And if she saw a deer running, it gone.
Mm-hmm.
Just gone. And it only took a couple times of that for me to,
Yeah, I spent a lot of times running coon dogs.
Literally just leveling her with the collar.
Them trashing off. You're in for a long night, depending on what they're running.
Yep. So to get back to Dan's question with it, Bear's only my second shed dog. I would say that in dealing with dogs in general, you can take this for what it's worth. I would definitely recommend a female dog if you were going to train a specific one for a shed dog. I think they're a heck of a lot smarter. And you could take that for what it's worth. If you've been around dogs enough, hounds, labs, anything like that, a lot of the really, really good ones are mostly females. Sadie was a female, obviously. Bear's good. He means well, but he's about as sharp as a box of marbles sometimes.
Bear is bear.
Bear is bear. He's a big lovey goof.
He's a wrecking ball.
But the biggest...
There's nothing graceful about Bear.
Nope. He's a loafing giant.
Happy one.
A loving loafing giant.
He's a happy one.
With the sheds, the biggest keys is using shed antlers. I know some people wash them. I don't think washing them makes a whole lot of difference, but being able to key them on the specific scent, there's a couple companies that make the antler scent. I would highly recommend that. But the biggest benefit that you can do, and I do this for most of my antlers, this one actually is mostly scraped, but there's a little bit. So when you get down to the bottom of a base of a fresh antler, that wax ring, that hair, all that stuff, if you can take that and put it on a tennis ball or another antler, whatever your training tool is.
Nice, Dan.
Yeah, nice, Dan. But the biggest thing is that scent. And that's the biggest key that I've seen dogs in the field that I've shed hunted with pick up on is that scent. And that's all going to be right there. This bone's not going to hold a lot of scent. It's this right here. They're smelling that hair, that blood, that scalp, that bit of connective tissue there. And then so for scent training, that's what I'll use I'll take a knife and I'll rim that off. Some of these antlers I got them, some still on, some I don't. Depends if I found it fresh or not. This one I found at the end of season. That's probably why I didn't peel that. But if you look at all St. Patrick's, I peeled all the wax rings off of those and the hair. That fresh scent is going to be what's going to give that dog the best nose for that smell. And then the other thing is, and you want to start it out blatantly obvious with obvious commands, find a bone. I always say bone is my command for Bear and for Sadie when I had her. Just because find a shed doesn't really roll off tongues. Find a bone. It's bone. It's like a one syllable kind of command, like sit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why I went with bone. And sometimes we'll just go out and we'll sight train, and maybe if it's the beginning of shed season and I want to start off getting back in the groove of things, knocking the rust off, I'll put a couple sheds out in the middle of the yard, make them real simple, and make them visualize the antler look upside down is a common, laying pattern, not just tines up. I mean, everybody wants to find them tines up, but most of the time they're laying tines down because they fall off the head and they kind of stick, I think. So the scent is the big one. If you can run them with the wind kind of quartering in their face when you're walking your pattern on a property or deer trails on a property, that's going to help you out a lot. Once they've keyed on that scent, and like I said, dog bone makes a good one. Jeremy, I can't think of his name. Jeremy Moore, I think, is the dog trainer guy with that. But yeah, so the scent would be the big one, and then the shape, obviously, of looking for an antler or looking for that doesn't belong, and start that very basic and always reward. And what I do is I just carry around a pocket full of Bear's food, and
Mm-hmm.
during a shed hunt or even during training, I'll do recalls. I'll always keep him engaged and keep him working on, what we're doing. I'll call him back and make him come, make him sit. Good boy, give him a command. And then I might even, while we're out there, one we picked up already, or I carry an old shed with me in my pack. If he's off over by Nate and we're walking through a property, I might throw it off on this left side over here, call him through and send him over that way to find it. To keep him engaged while we're out there shed hunting too. So scent, shape, and then keeping engaged and keeping reward, I guess, during the shed hunt is where you're gonna pick up where I've picked up the best success with Bear with it. But yeah, that's kind of my how I started it with Bear and sheds. When they're really little, I didn't give Bear sheds right away as a puppy for a long period of time, because when they're first developing their teeth, you kind of deform their teeth and put a lot of stress on young teeth with hard chews. So he got it as like that kind of that final piece reward, for a little bit, So he was always kind of chasing that reward, so to speak. But,
yeah. Me personally, I've never had a shed dog.
So. But you've had coonhounds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can relate a lot of it too.
It's the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
Starting them with a hide, then trapping live coons, and then getting the process going.
It's the same thing. Same exact process, basically.
Yeah, it's all the same. But Tyler, yeah, we did score double wide.
Yep.
You were a few inches off. We actually ended up having two winners.
Yep. Yeah, we had
Craig and Ryan.
Yeah.
What did he go?
122 and an eighth.
122 and an eighth.
And Tyler, you were at 118. So
you were right in the ballpark.
Right in that 5-6 inch window.
Yep.
So, but yeah, we did that. I don't know what time we did that at, but
probably about half.
But yeah, Ryan Wilkes won a hoodie because he guessed 122, and KREG messaged me, Craig, on Facebook. That's his Facebook name, KREG. Messaged in at the 122, so we're both going to give them both hoodies.
Yep, that was kind of on our end there. Yep. But Dan, thank you. Yeah. Appreciate that. I hope you have had a good season, and if
Dan always lays down hammers.
If you're out there still grinding it out, wish you the best of luck.
I think I don't know if Dan still has a tag or not. I know he did shoot one good one. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he did shoot a second one and I just missed it. But Dan he lays down good bucks all the time. Great, a really, really good hunter. So thank you, Dan, on the congrats, and congrats to you this year. And if you do still have a tag, go lay down another one.
Hell yeah.
And Shanna Joe, I contacted her today. We have her medium hoodie from the Hornet scoring.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to get hers over. And then Tyler's looking for a free hoodie. Doing a guess on your bucks. I don't know. We've
done Warnicky bucks. Let's do my buck.
Yeah, we can do that.
Let's do my buck. We already did 2 Warnicky scoring bucks. Let's do the guess on my buck.
Okay. Alrighty. Dan says muzzleloader. Waiting on muzzleloader.
That's a good move, I think.
Yeah. Keep on them. Keep on, putting your time in, your data, your scouting, whatever.
I love shooting deer with a muzzleloader.
Mm-hmm.
I almost like it as much as the bow, honestly.
Right. Something about that smoke cloud.
Yeah, something about the smoke cloud. It's just totally different. The thwack of the bullet, the whole everything about it is just it's different than a rifle or a shotgun.
Yeah. Yeah. Looks like everybody wants your old kicker buck to be the next guess. Well, let's do we want to do it next week or we want to wait a week?
Probably do it next week. Well, what do you want to do?
Well, we'll announce it this week, and we'll collect scores for 2 weeks. We'll collect scores tonight. We'll collect scores next week's episode. And if you want to,
or do we do my buck next week, and then the following week we do?
How many hoodies you want to give away?
I don't know.
They're for sale.
Oh,
you guys.
Well, we only got $4.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
Well, we only got 2 left, so you only give 2 more hoodies away.
Well, not if they guess the same number.
Till next season.
But all right.
Well, that was our bad. I don't know. What do you want to do?
Let's
we could do the 2-week thing.
No, we'll do him. We'll do that. We'll do a hoodie giveaway, but we also do have hoodies for sale.
Trying to recoup some of the money.
What measurement do you guys want for what do we call them? Kicker buck?
Sure, I call them the inside kicker 10.
Yeah, the inside kicker 10. What measurement do you guys want? And we're doing gross. Gonna go gross green score on Nate's buck. Here, you hold him. It's your buck, not mine. So we're gonna go gross green score. What tine measurement do you want on this buck, or what measurement do you want? We'll take a quick poll on that. To what measurement you guys want for this buck to help you with your score guess for him, and we'll do it. We'll do it next week in the shed. We'll score him in the shed, and
or we could wait a couple weeks and
we'll score him in the shed.
All right,
I think we'll score him in the shed. Both G2s. No, there's a one measurement, Tyler. One.
Tyler's trying to zero in on that.
Yeah, he's trying to cut that curve off. Tyler says, quick question, guys. Got $4 showing up at night only. Any late season tricks to get them daylight? Yeah, Dan hit a pretty good comment there. Find the bedroom between sleep and food. It depends on what time of night. With the what time they're showing up at night. If they're showing up a half hour after dark, they might not be far from the property.
Last 10 minutes of legal shooting, he'll be there.
Yeah. The big thing I could say, Tyler, is watch the weather. Wait for one of these big fronts. Have lots of videos of them in the plots. Yeah, so they're going to come to food. Wait for that weather to hit. Wait for something, and I know it sounds crazy, but look for that weather to hit hard. Don't overpressure that food. Wait for that weather to hit. Wait till you can see that storm building out. I don't think there's anything for this weekend. I mean, it'll probably be muzzleloader at this point. For weather building. I haven't really looked at the weather too much. We just haven't got that nasty weather to get them crazy. I mean, we might have some snow Sunday. It looks like in this area. They're calling for some wind and snow possible. So maybe that, this Saturday night before the Sunday snow event, that'd be a weather pattern I might key in on if I was still out there with an east wind. kicking around. Monday after the front,
After the front.
putting that on. But then we're wet and rainy again.
I would definitely say that
That weather.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah. And I've killed them during that snow too, because they're gonna have to feed that.
Saturday's Saturday, probably before.
Yeah.
That evening.
But I mean, Tuesday morning we're gonna be pretty cold at 22. So Monday, that Saturday, Sunday, and then the Monday, the first day of muzzleloader in the southern zone, I think would be your best. Your best in the next 7 days, easy.
But yeah, I would. I would definitely just key in on your weather and pattern, temperatures. Fronts rolling in,
and any
hunt
kind
the front and back of them.
Any kind of 1 year old data that you might have for
that piece.
For that piece that you might be hunting, or if you know anybody in that general area, I would say within the same town or county, you can get pretty close. This first week of December, I backtrack it, and you're getting right into that lockdown point of that first rut. So if there was a decent doe population, maybe in your neighborhood people don't shoot does, you might get a second estrus cycle swing of does coming in. So you might be able to key off on a second rut. Or you might have some of these doe funds, getting a good enough weight under them to be sexually mature. So there's always chances for that. But I would say at this point, if you can keep off of your food, keep it unpressured, and then wait for those nice weather fronts to hit, you're going to make out. They're going to start shifting toward it because they're going to feel that relaxed with the pressure. Showed up late season at night about the same times. So you should be able to start looking at that pattern of when they're showing up, where they're showing up from. And like Dan said, start to backtrack it a little bit. That was a great point. Backtracking to bedding. They got to be going somewhere or doing something. And a lot of it might be that, they're hanging right around that plot or that property, and maybe it's you got to be on the bedding movement side of the edge, rather than the wait to see everything come out. Because they could be hanging back in browse cover before getting out to the transitional food plot or food source at night, whatever it might be.
They usually won't. I mean, if you're in a fairly, pressured area like most places are in New York, you're not really going to see them break out into an open field until that last 15 minutes, in my opinion.
Unless it's super unpressured or like way laid back piece.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know all my pieces, it's all that last 20 minutes is when they start coming out into the fields.
Yep.
He didn't step out until the last 10 minutes of legal shooting.
Literally. Yep. And 2-3 years ago, you wouldn't have been able to shoot him.
2-3 years ago, I would have been up and out of there. And then the same thing with my muzzleloader buck last year. I shot him in the last 10 minutes of legal shooting.
Yep. And with this kind of steady weather, I would call it steady. We're only changing by like maybe 10 degrees, total over this span. Is look for whatever change is going to be, even if it's not super major, whatever change is what we key off on. Just like we did that, that night we both killed. The wind laid down, the weather started to cool for a day or two, we had that change, and we, moved in on that change, and found success in it. We could have easily picked a spot and just not been the right spot we picked that night either. You could have sat the corn instead of the green,
Yeah.
I could have sat the west instead of the east, or whatever you want to call it. Who knows? But there's still a little bit amount of that good old luck involved, even if you stack the weather, the stand, the food, the 1 year rule, whatever it might be.
Still a little luck involved.
Still got to be a little bit of luck involved in that whole process. But, well, we're right about on that 2 hour mark.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you got to get home to the the baby and the wife and all that good stuff. And we got work tomorrow. But want to thank everybody hanging with us. I'll message Ryan and Craig about the hoodies, and we'll get it going. But thank you everybody for hanging with us tonight on the podcast. Appreciate everybody participating in the Score a Double Wide. And like I said, we'll do the what do you want to give them, Nate? Inside spread? That's what we've been giving them.
Sure.
We'll give them the inside spread on your buck for the scoring guess. And you guys can think about it. We'll, take it tomorrow. Tyler says post a picture of the wreck on Facebook so he can study it.
Tyler, you can look.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's on Ben's Facebook too. But
Yeah.
you can just look up my Facebook and friend request me if you'd like.
Yeah. So we got 16.
It's just under Nate Pierce.
16 and 6/8 for his inside spread. So for his inside spread measurement, 16 and 6/8, and we'll do a post or two throughout the week to remind you guys. But 16 and 6/8 is that inside spread number for your bonus measurement guess for the inside kicker 10 buck that Nate harvested. A little bit different looks at him. I think he's going to go real well. Gross.
I think he will.
Absolutely. So, thank you everyone for tuning in. Nate, you still got a drink to toast with?
I got a little in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, thank you all for tuning in. Good luck if you're still out there. Be safe. Shoot straight. Congratulations again, buddy.
Thank you. You too.
And catch y'all next time here on Whitetails and Whiskey. Take care, guys.